mention the philosophers of ancient Greece. The name Zeno of Elea often evokes the image of a challenging thinker who left an indelible mark with his timeless philosophical paradoxes. Zeno was not merely a philosopher, but a foundational figure in debates that have spanned centuries, bridging philosophy and science. As one of Parmenides' most brilliant students and a staunch defender of the concept of the unchanging and unified nature of reality, Zeno's legacy transcends time, continuing to spark human curiosity. But what made Zeno so extraordinary that his name endures across millennia? Zeno lived during a period when philosophy and logical reasoning were flourishing in ancient Greece. Thinkers like Parmenides, Heraclitus, and Pythagoras proposed profound ideas about the nature of reality. However, Zeno stood out for his unique approach, using arguments to challenge fundamental assumptions about the world. He didn't merely present theories, he created paradoxes that compelled others to reconsider everything they believed to be true. Famous paradoxes such as Achilles and the tortoise and the arrow paradox not only questioned the nature of motion but also opened avenues for exploring infinity, space, and time. In the Achilles and the tortoise paradox, Zeno crafted a simple yet deeply philosophical scenario. He argued that logically, a fast runner like Achilles could never catch up to a tortoise with a head start, because the distance between them could always be infinitely divided. This was not just a question of motion, but a profound inquiry into infinity and the continuity of space and time. This paradox baffled thinkers for centuries and remains a topic of debate in modern philosophy and mathematics. Similarly, Zeno's arrow paradox challenged our understanding of time and motion. If, at every moment in its flight, an arrow is at rest relative to its position, how can it ever move? Through this argument, Zeno asserted that motion is an illusion, something we perceive but cannot logically explain. Such ideas are far from mere intellectual exercises. They pose deep questions about the nature of reality, questions that continue to puzzle philosophers and scientists today. However, Zeno was not just a creator of paradoxes. He was a thinker who skillfully connected philosophy with rigorous logic. He used his paradoxes to defend his teacher Parmenides' philosophy that reality is unchanging and indivisible. To Zeno, what we perceive through our senses can deceive us. Only reason can lead us to truth. This philosophy challenged other schools of thought of his time and left an enduring legacy in the history of philosophy. Zeno's legacy lies not only in his paradoxes, but also in the way he ignited critical thinking and curiosity in others. He demonstrated that by questioning assumptions and probing deeply, humanity could expand its understanding of the world. His ideas inspired later philosophers, from Aristotle to Enlightenment thinkers, and continue to shape how we think about science and philosophy today. What makes Zeno extraordinary in the history of philosophy is his ability to transform abstract concepts into provocative, practical questions that force us to reconsider our understanding of the universe. Even after thousands of years, Zeno's paradoxes remind us that curiosity and the capacity to question are among humanity's most powerful tools for advancing knowledge. Let us delve deeper into the life and legacy of Zeno, to understand why he is regarded as one of the most significant philosophers in human history. Zeno of Elea, one of the most renowned philosophers of ancient Greece, is remembered not only for his timeless paradoxes, but also for his inspiring life and career. Born in Elea, a city in southern Italy, Zeno lived during the 5th century BCE. Although much about his life remains unclear, Zeno stands out as a central figure in the history of philosophy due to his unique contributions. Zeno was a distinguished student of Parmenides, the philosopher who proposed that reality is unchanging and singular. Parmenides' ideas, which contradicted conventional beliefs about change and diversity, faced strong criticism from other schools of thought. Against this backdrop, Zeno emerged as a brilliant defender, employing logical arguments to support his teacher's theories. This demonstrated not only his loyalty and respect for Parmenides, but also Zeno's pioneering role in using logic to explore the nature of reality. Little is known about Zeno's early years, but it is certain that he devoted much of his life to studying, reflecting, and debating philosophical issues. According to some accounts, he was not only a philosopher but also an active participant in the political life of Elea, using his intellect to make important decisions for the community. However, it is his philosophical paradoxes that form his enduring legacy, carrying his name far beyond the confines of time and space. Zeno's philosophical career is closely associated with his famous paradoxes, arguments that challenge prevailing notions of motion and change while laying the groundwork for later inquiries in mathematics and science. He used these paradoxes as tools to demonstrate that common human perceptions of reality are unreliable, and that only reason can reveal the truth. For this reason, Zeno's paradoxes are not merely intellectual puzzles, but profound lessons about the nature of the world. Zeno is admired for his sharp reasoning and creative thinking. He crafted simple yet provocative scenarios to highlight complex philosophical problems. For instance, in the paradox of Achilles and the tortoise, Zeno presents a situation where, logically, a swift runner like Achilles can never overtake a tortoise if the latter has a head start. This is not only a challenge to the concept of motion, but also an invitation to reflect on infinity and the nature of space and time. Zeno's life was not just a journey into philosophy, but also a testament to the power of intellect and courage in confronting challenges. Despite living in an era when new philosophical ideas were often rejected or criticized, Zeno remained steadfast in his beliefs and relentless in his pursuit of truth. This spirit has inspired generations of philosophers and scientists, from Aristotle to Newton and even modern thinkers. Zeno of Elea, one of the greatest philosophers of ancient Greece, left a profound philosophical legacy through his thought-provoking and challenging paradoxes. Among these, the paradox of Achilles and the tortoise stands out as a prime example of his exceptional logical reasoning and has formed the basis for centuries of discussion in philosophy, mathematics, and physics. By posing a seemingly simple scenario, Zeno raised deep questions about the nature of motion, time, and infinity, challenging human intuition and common perceptions. The Achilles and the tortoise paradox revolves around an imagined race between Achilles, the fastest runner in Greek mythology, and a notoriously slow-moving tortoise. In this race, Achilles, with his superior speed, allows the tortoise a head start. Zeno argues that Achilles will never catch the tortoise because, by the time Achilles reaches the tortoise's starting position, the tortoise will have moved slightly ahead. As Achilles continues to reach each successive position of the tortoise will always advance a bit further. This process repeats infinitely, leading Zeno to conclude that Achilles can never overtake the tortoise. This paradox is not merely a fictional tale, but a significant challenge to philosophers and scientists in understanding motion and space. Through this paradox, Zeno forced us to confront the concepts of infinity and continuous division. He emphasized that for Achilles to surpass the tortoise, he must complete an infinite number of smaller distances. However, the idea of completing infinity contradicts our intuitive understanding of motion, wherein Achilles obviously overtakes the tortoise in real life. From a mathematical perspective, this paradox introduced critical questions about infinite series and the concept of limits, foundational ideas in calculus. Mathematicians such as Newton and Leibniz developed powerful mathematical tools to address the problems posed by Zeno. They demonstrated that the sum of an infinite series of diminishing quantities can converge to a finite value, allowing Achilles to indeed overtake the tortoise in reality. This resolution not only addressed Zeno's paradox, but also laid the groundwork for modern science and mathematics. In addition, the paradox of Achilles and the tortoise holds profound significance in philosophy. It reinforces Parmenides' view that change and motion are mere illusions, and that reality is unchanging. By employing logical arguments to counter human intuition, Zeno presented a challenge to philosophers who believed in diversity and change, such as Heraclitus. This paradox also serves as an invitation for us to reflect on how we perceive reality and the limitations of human thought. The impact of the Achilles and the tortoise paradox extends far beyond ancient Greek times and continues to influence modern science and philosophy. In physics, concepts of continuity and discreteness in space and time, inspired by Zeno's paradox, remain pivotal research topics. Einstein's theory of relativity and quantum mechanics have inherited and expanded upon these ideas, further challenging our understanding of the universe. In conclusion, the Achilles and the tortoise paradox is not merely a simple tale, but a symbol of the philosophical spirit. Always curious, always questioning, and always seeking the truth. In this paradox, Zeno asks us to imagine an arrow in flight. He argues that at any specific moment in its trajectory, the arrow occupies a fixed position in space. If the arrow is stationary at each moment, then throughout its journey, the arrow cannot be moving. This leads to a paradoxical conclusion. Although we observe the arrow flying, Zeno's argument implies that it does not actually move. Being honest may not get you a lot of friends. At first glance, this reasoning may seem absurd, as it contradicts our everyday experience. However, Zeno does not aim to deny reality, but rather challenges our understanding of motion and time. He posits that time and space may not be continuous entities as commonly thought, but could instead be divided into discrete units. If time consists of discrete moments, then motion through space must also be reconsidered. At each specific moment, the arrow merely exists at a particular point without truly moving. The philosophical significance of the arrow paradox is profound. It bolsters Parmenides' claim that change and motion are illusions, and that reality is unchanging. Through this paradox, Zeno sought to prove that what we perceive through our senses is unreliable, and that only reason can lead us to truth. The paradox also raises questions about how time is structured. Is it a continuous flow, or is it composed of discrete separate elements? Mathematically, the arrow paradox introduces critical issues concerning continuity and discreteness, two concepts central to various scientific and philosophical fields. Newton and Leibniz, the founders of calculus, developed the theory of limits to address such questions. In calculus, motion is described by examining infinitesimally small changes in space and time, enabling us to explain how an object can traverse points over a continuous time frame. Moreover, the paradox has significantly influenced modern physics. In quantum mechanics, the idea of discrete space and time has been explored, revealing that motion at the particle level may not occur as continuously as observed in the macroscopic world. Einstein's theory of relativity also re-examines the nature of time and space, asserting that they are not absolute entities but rather relative to velocity and gravity. The arrow paradox is not merely an abstract problem, but also a powerful tool Zeno used to stimulate critical thinking. He demonstrated that even the most fundamental concepts, such as motion and time, could be questioned and redefined. This serves as a strong reminder that curiosity and the ability to question are essential tools for exploring the mysteries of the universe. In summary, Zeno's arrow paradox is not just a challenge to human intuition, but also an invitation to explore new horizons in philosophy, mathematics, and science. With his exceptional reasoning skills, Zeno showed that logical thought can transcend the limitations of sensory perception and lead to breakthroughs in knowledge. Even after more than 2 millennia, this paradox continues to spark imagination and creativity, inspiring generations of philosophers, mathematicians, and scientists in their quest to understand reality. Ideas of infinity and continuity. Zeno of Elea is renowned not only for his paradoxes that challenge perceptions of motion, but also as one of the first philosophers to pose profound questions about infinity and continuity. Through logical reasoning, he sparked philosophical debates that lasted for centuries and shaped humanity's understanding of the material and abstract world. Ideas of infinity and continuity were central to Zeno's paradoxes, opening the door to discoveries in modern mathematics and philosophy. Zeno argued that if space and time are continuous, they can be divided into infinite small parts. This raises the question, how can an object move from point A to point B if it must traverse an infinite number of intermediary points? He used this argument to challenge the notion that motion is real, asserting that what we perceive through our senses is merely an illusion. For Zeno, reality is unchanging, and concepts like infinity exist only in logical thought, not in the physical world. A quintessential example of this idea is the line segment paradox, where Zeno contended that, to traverse a line segment, an object must pass through an infinite number of points along it. If completing an infinite number of steps is impossible, then motion itself cannot occur. This notion baffled philosophers and mathematicians for centuries, laying the groundwork for theories of limits and infinite series in mathematics. The concept of infinity that Zeno introduced is not merely an abstract problem, but also has profound practical implications. Mathematicians like Archimedes, Newton, and Leibniz developed mathematical tools to address questions about infinity. The theory of limits, a central concept in calculus, was constructed to explain how the sum of an infinite series could converge to a finite value. This not only resolved Zeno's paradoxes, but also inaugurated a new field of study with wide applications in physics and engineering. The idea of continuity also plays a pivotal role in understanding time and space. Zeno questioned whether time is truly a continuous flow or composed of discrete moments. These questions are not merely philosophical, but directly relate to modern physical theories. In Einstein's theory of relativity, time and space are not absolute entities, but can be curved and altered by gravity and velocity. In quantum mechanics, scientists have discovered that space and time may exhibit discontinuous properties at the microscopic level, echoing ideas Zeno introduced millennia ago. Moreover, Zeno's thoughts on infinity hold deep philosophical significance. They challenge how we understand reality and the limits of human reasoning. Zeno believed that reason, not sensory perception, is the sole tool for accessing truth. This reinforces his view that the real world is not what we see, but what we can explain through logic and argumentation. Zeno's ideas about infinity and continuity have not only influenced philosophy and mathematics, but also inspired modern scientific discoveries. They remind us that even when confronted with seemingly unsolvable questions, humanity can advance its quest for truth through curiosity and inquiry. Zeno's ideas are not merely the legacy of an ancient Greek philosopher, but also a beacon illuminating the path of human knowledge. The enduring legacy of Zeno. Zeno of Elea was not merely a philosopher with paradoxes that challenged thought. He left behind a lasting legacy that transcended his era. His contributions not only shaped ancient Greek philosophy, but also laid the foundation for fields such as mathematics, physics, and modern philosophy. Zeno's legacy is not just about theories, but also about the relentless pursuit of truth and the ability to question the seemingly obvious. One of Zeno's greatest legacies is the development of logical and analytical thinking. Through his paradoxes, he compelled humanity to deeply ponder fundamental concepts like space, time, and motion. Paradoxes such as Achilles and the tortoise or the arrow were not mere philosophical puzzles but laid the groundwork for studies on infinity and continuity. Thanks to Zeno, mathematicians like Archimedes, Newton, and Leibniz found inspiration to develop the theory of limits in calculus, two of mathematics' most important achievements. Beyond mathematics, Zeno profoundly influenced philosophy, particularly in metaphysics and epistemology. His ideas challenged traditional views of reality and changed how we understand the world. Zeno asserted that the senses could deceive us, and that only reason could bring humanity closer to the truth. This perspective not only influenced his contemporaries, but also inspired great thinkers like Plato and Aristotle. Even in modern times, Zeno's ideas remain a source of inspiration for existential and contemporary philosophers, exploring the nature of reality and human consciousness. Zeno's impact extends beyond philosophy and mathematics to natural sciences. In the 20th century, modern physical theories such as Einstein's theory of relativity and quantum mechanics addressed the questions Zeno raised. For example, relativity asserts that time and space are not absolute entities, but can bend and change. Meanwhile, quantum mechanics explores the discrete nature of reality at the microscopic level, shedding light on ideas Zeno introduced over 2,000 years ago. Zeno's legacy is not confined to specific discoveries, but also embodies the philosophical spirit he left behind. He demonstrated that curiosity and the ability to question are the most powerful tools for exploring the universe's mysteries. Zeno's paradoxes are not definitive answers, but invitations to continue reflecting and investigating. This spirit has inspired countless generations of philosophers, scientists, and mathematicians, encouraging them to relentlessly seek truth and transcend the boundaries of human thought. Another crucial aspect of Zeno's legacy is how he bridged philosophy with other disciplines. His questions about infinity, continuity, and the nature of motion were not just abstract puzzles, but had practical implications for understanding the natural world. This illustrates that philosophy is not an isolated field, but an integral part of exploring and comprehending the universe. In conclusion, Zeno of Elea's legacy is not only about his famous paradoxes, but also about the creative spirit and courage to challenge humanity's basic assumptions. He opened new horizons in knowledge and left behind a timeless legacy, reminding us that questioning and challenging the obvious are essential for progress. With his immense contributions, Zeno remains a symbol of curiosity and intellect, an enduring inspiration for those who strive to understand the world and themselves. Zeno of Elea is remembered not only as an eminent thinker, but also as a symbol of the relentless pursuit of truth. His paradoxes, though created more than 2 millennia ago, remain a profound source of inspiration, compelling us to reflect more deeply on the nature of reality. He demonstrated that philosophy is not a detached discipline, but a vibrant journey that challenges every assumption and opens new doors of knowledge. Through paradoxes like Achilles and the tortoise and the arrow, Zeno posed fundamental questions about space, time, and motion. Questions that not only advanced mathematics and physics, but also deepened our understanding of the world and ourselves. He reminds us that in every era, questioning and seeking truth are indispensable for driving human progress. Zeno's legacy lies not only in his paradoxes, but also in his courage to confront the limits of human thought. He paved the way for generations of philosophers, mathematicians, and scientists, inspiring them to transcend the boundaries of knowledge and explore new horizons. His ideas remind us that knowledge is never self-evident. It always requires curiosity, patience, and the ability to challenge the known. Looking back, we see that Zeno left behind not just questions, but also a legacy of critical thinking. He taught us that no matter the paradoxes or challenges we face, the capacity for deep thought and relentless exploration will always illuminate humanity's path toward progress. With his monumental contributions, Zeno remains a symbol of perseverance, intellect, and the spirit of lifelong learning. Ultimately, Zeno's legacy is not merely the challenging paradoxes he crafted, but also a reminder of the importance of questioning across all domains. He encourages us to look beyond the surface of what we perceive, to seek deeper meanings and a greater understanding of the essence of reality. Through his questions, we learn that understanding is not a destination, but an endless journey, with each step forward providing an opportunity to discover more about ourselves and the universe. In the context of the modern world, Zeno's ideas remain profoundly relevant. The questions he raised about continuity and infinity form the foundation of mathematics and physics, while also reminding us that creativity and the ability to think beyond limits are prerequisites for progress in both science and life. Even when confronted with the most complex issues, Zeno's spirit remains a guiding light, reminding us that intellect and courage are the keys to overcoming any challenge. In conclusion, Zeno of Elea is not merely a philosopher of antiquity, but an inexhaustible source of inspiration for future generations. His paradoxes and ideas, though thousands of years old, remain symbols of curiosity, creativity, and determination in the pursuit of truth. From Zeno, we learn that to move closer to the truth, we must be willing to question, to confront the unknown, and to endlessly explore new frontiers of knowledge. These lessons make Zeno one of the greatest thinkers in human history,